It's the second largest city in Lower Franconia, has its own microclimate, and, due to a quirk in the way German local government works, it's the seat of a district it's not even a part of, Aschaffenburg, dominated by the imposing Johannesburg Palace. The original castle was almost destroyed in 1552 during the Second Margrave War. Except for the keep, the ruins were demolished and replaced by the more familiar building, which was completed in about 1619. According to legend, in 1631 the Swedish King Gustav Adolf, having taken the city of Aschaffenburg, mentioned to a local monk, Bernhard von Trier, that it would be a shame to have to burn the recently completed palace, as he couldn't take it back to Sweden. Bernhard suggested he just push it, and pointed to the many wheels carved over the first floor windows. The King of Sweden had to laugh and decided to spare the palace. In fact, the wheel represents the Archbishopric of Mainz, to which Aschaffenburg belonged. There is one curiosity even many of the residents haven't heard of. You'll find it set into the perimeter wall of the palace grounds in a quiet side street. Nobody knows whether it's a good luck charm or a stonemason's practical joke, but it's clear what it's supposed to represent. It's a pair of buttocks, the Aschaffenburg arse. Aschaffenburg does have another obscure claim to fame. This monument marks the site of Germany's first ever driving school, opened in 1904 by an architect called Rudolf Kempf, although it closed a short 2 years later. We'll never know what Kempf and his contemporaries would have made of modern cities, but they probably didn't envisage this. It's not that Aschaffenburg's traffic problems are worse than any other cities, but it is a relief to be able to find some peace and quiet. There wasn't room to make a proper palace garden in formal Baroque style, but a garden of sorts does extend along the riverbank and, among other things, features a mock Roman villa, the Pompeianum. It was built for King Ludwig I of Bavaria in the 1840s and loosely based on a real house in Pompeii, although details like the outer stairway and the columns at the main entrance are not authentic. On the terraces below is a small vineyard, Aschaffenburg's climate being just warm enough to make winemaking a realistic undertaking. It's a very small vineyard though, so you won't be able to buy the wine in the shops. It's used by the city at official receptions and other special occasions. As a witness to the unexpected problems of a multicultural society, a sign in Turkish requests visitors not to pick the vine leaves. As ancient as the city is, it goes back to the 5th century, it has to move with the times, and Aschaffenburg has chosen to combine the old and new in startling ways. In the main shopping district, half-timbered houses stand next to concrete and glass edifices. This isn't, after all, a museum, but a city of 70,000 and an administrative centre. Whether this combination of old and new is always a good thing is a matter of taste. Take the old market square. Here we see the fountain decorated for Easter according to local tradition. From this angle, it's an ensemble of historic buildings. The Lion Pharmacy is a particularly fine 16th century half-timbered building of a type that is quite rare. The Collegiate Church of St. Peter and Alexander is mostly Romanesque, but its roots go back as far as the 10th century. At one time, the college was the city's largest landowner. Those days are over, but the church is now a minor basilica. These buildings had to be rebuilt after the Second World War, and you'd think they'd have done the same with the City Hall. But you'd be wrong, because this is it. Not far away, the City Theatre, built in 1811 and considered one of the most beautiful in southern Germany, is currently being renovated, which includes the addition of this facade. Very few remnants of the original city walls survive. This is the Hechtal Tower, which bears the date 1545. There were originally two towers, this being the remains of a city gate, but the demands of the motor car being what they are, only this one still stands. The Church of the White Lily, better known as the Sand Church, recalls the plague which reached Aschaffenburg in 1606. There was already a chapel here, but when, in the nearby village of Damm, the disease wiped out 3/4 of the population, the 100 survivors came here, starting a tradition of pilgrimage. By the mid-18th century, so many pilgrims were arriving that a proper church had to be built. Aschaffenburg does pride itself on its history, but is determined not to be left behind. One of the more controversial projects in recent times has been the construction of a brand new railway station after the old building was deemed far too humble for such a modern city. Is it a success story of what a state-owned company can do in partnership with private business? Or is it an over-dimensioned, expensive white elephant? Time will no doubt tell. But that's not all, because the new station is part of a much wider redevelopment. More shops, offices and apartments are going up on derelict land in a neglected part of the city. It's not without its critics, but one thing's for sure. Aschaffenburg, like most cities in Europe, has constantly known change and growth. For better or for worse, why should it stop now?